Terrion Arnold wasn't on most people's first-round radar a year ago, but now after having a great season in 2023, everyone's taking notice of just how good he actually is. He's still somewhat living in the shadow of his teammate Kool-Aid McKinstry, but he started making quite a name for himself and is even the top cornerback on a lot of people's big boards. But what's the truth about him? Is he really a talented player with a sky-high ceiling, or did he just benefit from playing cornerback 2 on a dominant Alabama defense? Today, we're going to dive into the positives and negatives that he shows us on tape to get answers to those questions, starting with the positives. Arnold stands at 6 foot, 196 pounds, which is a good size for an outside cornerback. What really stuck out to me the first time I watched him is how smooth he is as an athlete. He's not necessarily the biggest or strongest guy on the field, but he moves with such ease and just seems to glide around the field. This is especially apparent when he plays close to the line of scrimmage. Wide receivers will often try to pull out some quick or technical release moves on him, but he's able to mirror whatever they're doing with ease without losing a step at all. He can be beat by cuts later on in the route, but he rarely ever gets beat off of the line or early on in the route, which is great because that gives the defensive line plenty of time to get to the quarterback before the route develops fully and he can throw it his way. Another area that he stands out is in his run support. He's under 200 pounds, but he knows how to play through or around blocks like the best of them. He shows a lot of intensity and enthusiasm coming downfield to make the tackle, and his ability in this area of the field makes him even more of a game changer. This will help to raise his floor and makes him project to be more of a 4-down cornerback rather than only being relegated to passing downs. The only other person I can think of in this entire class that plays the run as well as he does is Kamari Lassiter from Georgia. He's also quite good at playing the ball when it's in the air. He had 5 interceptions in 2023, and while a few of those were just the result of him being in the right place at the right time, he did show real skill and instinct in finding it and picking it off or forcing the incompletion. He's more than capable of making a play on the ball and securing the interception, but if he's not in a position to do that, he's usually really good about using his long arms to break up the pass and disrupt the catch. It's also worth noting that he's capable of playing some quality press coverage. He's not like elite in the area like Kool-Aid McKinstry is, but he got some good experience with that at Alabama and has shown enough ability to hold his own against NFL competition. So we've established that he does a lot of things very well, but what does he still need to work on? Why are Nate Wiggins and Kool-Aid McKinstry still ranked over him on a lot of big boards, and do they deserve to be? To get answers to those questions, we're now going to need to dive into the negative side of his game to see what potential red flags he has leading up to the draft. The easiest and most obvious criticism to make is that he benefited from playing second fiddle at Alabama, and that's true to a certain degree. Kool-Aid McKinstry often locked up the opposing team's wide receiver 1, which would leave Arnold with the easier assignment. And another thing that makes this a bit more concerning is that teams seem to be much more willing to throw towards him rather than to Kool-Aid. In fact, Arnold was targeted more than twice as much as Kool-Aid over the course of the season. Clearly, opposing teams thought that he was the weaker of the two. On the actual tape, though, there's a couple of things that still concern me. For one thing, he tends to get grabby in tight coverage, especially when the receiver starts to pull away or get some separation on him. There were several plays of his that I saw that would have been penalized if he was actually in the NFL. In general, it's better to have a more physical corner than a less physical one, but he truly could have a problem with penalties early on in his career if he doesn't get that coached out of him sooner rather than later. I mentioned earlier that he's very good in run support, and that's true, but he still needs to work on becoming a more consistent tackler. Oftentimes, he just tries to lower his shoulder and get a big hit rather than wrapping up and securing the tackle, which can lead the ball carrier to just breaking that and continuing to run. That's a common problem for cornerbacks coming out of college, but it's particularly noticeable with how involved he gets in run support. One last minor thing that I worry about is how he'll hold up against bigger NFL receivers. He weighs less than 200 pounds right now and doesn't play with particularly great strength, so I think that there's a chance that he'll struggle to disrupt bigger and more physical receivers in the NFL. That wasn't a common issue for him in college, but I think it could come to light and get exposed a little bit more down the line. It's clear why Terrion Arnold is in the conversation for the cornerback 1 spot in the draft this year. He's a smooth athlete that plays with great fluidity. He had a dominant college career at Alabama. He's able to play the ball well to force turnovers and break up passes, and he provides a certain level of energy and enthusiasm in run support that most other cornerbacks can't match. He also seems to have the versatility to thrive in most defensive schemes, and his athleticism gives him a very high ceiling overall. However, he's still far from a perfect prospect. He might not hold up the best against NFL physicality, he's inconsistent with his tackling form, he might struggle with penalties early on in his career, and he got to play against easier competition in college, with Kool-Aid McKinstry generally taking the tougher assignments. Overall, I'm giving him a mid-first round grade for the draft this year. I don't think he's going to end up being graded out as my top cornerback, but he may very well have the highest ceiling out of all of them. I think that there's a real possibility that he's a Pro Bowl caliber player within a year or two, but he'll definitely need to refine and fine-tune his game before he reaches that level. He emerged as an explosive and dominant playmaker in his final year at college, and I can't wait to watch him continue on that trajectory at the next level. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more content like this, be sure to like, subscribe, and check out the other videos on this channel. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, goodbye.